Hey everybody, welcome to a craft tutorial. Today we are going to make the glitter dipped wine glasses. So I'm going to show you all the stuff that you're going to need to do this. First you'll need a wine glass, any size, any style that you want. Got this one from the Dollar Tree. A jar of glitter, any color you choose. I got this one from Hobby Lobby. It is extra fine glitter. You're going to need a polyacrylic. This polyacrylic is Minwax. I got it at Amazon for a pretty good price. You can get this at your local hardware store as well. Don't buy this from a craft store. It's very expensive there. Much cheaper at the hardware stores. You'll need a sponge applicator and a scrap bowl. And then I protect my work surface with wax paper. And then I also have another bowl that we will use when we go to glitter our jar. So the first thing that you're going to do is decide how far up you want your glitter. For me, I'm just going to do my stem, so I'm going to probably stop right at this line. You can use electrical tape to mark your line, or you don't have to mark your line at all if you feel confident in your ability to paint in a relatively straight line. Now, if I was going up the glass, I would want to for sure use electrical tape or some form of marker so that I don't get the polyacrylic, that's the word I'm going for, everywhere. So I'm just gonna probably skip this because I don't like to use it, but you could just put your tape around it. I'm not a fan. I'm pretty good at keeping a straight line. So I'm gonna flip my cup over and I'm going to begin painting, and I'm gonna push you guys up just a little bit. I'm gonna begin to paint this part and the base here. So you don't want to put a real thick layer on. You just need to do a nice light layer. So you don't want it to dribble. It's okay if it drips onto your wax paper. That's why I put it down. But you just want a thin coating on your stem. And like I said, you go up as high as you want. I just do like till the stem kind of curves up. And I'm just going to get that glob off of there. And like I said, nice light coat of the polyacrylic. I apologize, my dog likes to bark in these videos. So all you do, you just wipe it all the way around and make sure you get all the way to your edge. So just make sure it's all around to your edges. And we'll just wipe the stem a little bit more just to make sure we covered all of our surfaces. So once you've covered all your surfaces, you don't need your polyacrylic anymore. But now you're going to need your glitter and your big bowl. We won't lose any glitter by using this big bowl because the good thing is you can reuse what glitter falls off because you're going to want to put a lot of glitter on here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on. And what we're going to do, we're going to hold our stemmed wine glass here over the bowl, and let me open my glitter. I'm going to use the pour spout if I can get it to open. I don't know if anyone else struggles with these as much as I do, but I hate the glitter jar lids. It's like they're determined to make me crazy. We may just, you know what? We don't need it. You can just use the open one. So just sprinkle your glitter. And let's see if you guys can see. Just sprinkle your, like I said, make sure you use a nice thick coat, because whatever glitter falls off, we will reuse at a later time. So I always start up on my stem, and I always go a little bit higher than where I put the poly, because that way you make sure you coat the whole edge of it. And you just want to make sure that you get all of it covered in a pretty decent coat of glitter. And then you want to make sure that you get the base of your stem. I just hold it the other way, and then I kind of shake my glitter at it. And you'll see as you're going that you'll see little spots where it's not as thick, and that's okay because we're going to go back over this with another layer of glitter. So once you've gotten your glitter all over your stem and your glass, I usually just come along and wipe a little bit off of the tip here just so that it's not all over the place. And then you just want to tap it so that you get all the excess blue or whatever color glitter off. That's why I don't glitter the bottom. And it'll actually sit better when you go to put it on a table or something if you don't glitter the bottom. I see a lot of people who do glitter the bottom. I don't like to. It'll scratch your table. This is just, it keeps it a little bit cleaner. So you're just going to tap, 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 tap until you see all that excess glitter coming off. I got glitter all over my hand. So now all we're going to do is let it sit to the side, and we're going to let it dry for about, I would say, an hour to maybe an hour and a half to give it plenty of time to dry, because we're going to put another coat of glitter on it to make sure that it's nice and thick, because this one isn't, I don't know how well you can see, it looks thick in the video, but there are some thin spots, and I really want like a good glitter coating. You can probably see right here where it's really thin. So we're going to just let that dry, and then when we come back, we can put on another coat. All right, we have let our poly dry for a little over an hour. So now we get to go back in with the second coat of poly. This is the time you want to absolutely make sure you have your spare bowl, because you are going to end up with a little bit of glitter on your brush. That's okay, don't worry, it's going to happen. But you don't want to get the poly dripped, or the glitter into your poly, because you can ruin it. And so this layer is going to be just a little bit thicker than the last, and it'll have to dry a little bit longer, but that's all right. So you're just going to lightly brush it. You don't want to press very hard, because that will cause some of the glitter to fall off. So you just want to like lightly brush it, and you can see we're just lightly touching. Not going too crazy, but we are getting some glitter off, which is okay, don't worry. And you want to make sure that you concentrate on the parts that maybe don't have a whole lot of glitter stuck to them yet. Some of these lightly covered spots, I want to make sure that I really get those with a lot of a lot of poly, because then it will hopefully coat those spots much nicer than it did the first time. So just make sure you got a lot of, oops, you don't want drips, so you want to make sure you're not dripping. Okay. I think I've done a pretty decent job coating it. Again, we're not going to let it dry at all. We're just going to move right into the glitter. I poured the extra glitter back into our glitter container. I'm going to set that down one second while I open the glitter. And same thing, you're just going to use a ton of glitter, and you're just going to pour it right onto your cup or your glass or whatever you're doing this to, whether it's a stemless wine glass or one like mine that has a stem. You want to make sure that you are covering all of your spots, that you put that second coat of polycrylic on. And this one should cover much more densely. So we're going to do that same thing we did last time. You're just going to tap, 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 tap your cup to get all that excess glitter off of it. And what I'll do is I just sort of make sure that it looks like I covered everything. Oh, got a little piece of dog hair. And so you can see it's a much thicker coat now. You can't really see through it. You can see some of the wet parts just from where we put the poly, but that's okay. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to set it down, let it dry again. This one, like I said, is going to need to dry a little bit longer for our second coat, because we did put a much thicker coat on. When we come back, we're going to put our final coat of polycrylic on, and then we can decorate it using our Cricut. Let that second coat dry for probably about 16 hours. I got busy doing other things, but we're going to go ahead and put the final coat of the polycrylic on. So this one you want to do fairly thick, because this is going to be the coat that keeps that glitter on, and we're not going to glitter on top of this. So just like usual, just like we did the last time, you're just going to like gently kind of tap it on, and it's okay if you get a little bit of glitter that comes off onto your paintbrush. That's to be expected. You don't want it too globby, because if you do, it'll have bumps in it. So you just want to, I always start with the stem first, because it can drip down the stem a little bit, and it'll get to that bottom. So we're just gonna keep tapping, tapping, tapping. And we're just gonna make sure that it's nice and coated. We're gonna make sure we get this bottom nice and coated as well. Like I said, make sure you don't have any big pools of it or puddles. We don't want giant globs of the polycrylic on this at all. But we do want to make sure it has a nice thick coat so that it holds all the glitter on. Okay, I think the one way I always tell is I just hold it up to the light and just make sure that I don't see any real super shiny spots, because those super shiny spots are going to be uncovered glitter. So what you do is you just kind of turn it and turn it and turn it until you make sure that you don't see any bare glitter, and you want to make sure that you do get around that bottom of the rim just like we did before when we put the glitter on, because if you don't get around this edge, the glitter will come off that edge as well. So just make sure you get that edge really well. Okay, so you can see we've got our final coat of Mod Podge on. Looks like I've covered the whole thing. You can see now it's not as sparkly and shiny. We're going to let that dry. That one's probably going to have to dry for, I would think, a few hours because it's going to be a thicker layer. Once that is dry, we will be able to start decorating with our Cricut. Okay, so here we are in our design space with our brand new project, and we are going to get our Snow White silhouette. And in this one, I'm going to show you guys kind of a cool way to contour so that you can layer your project. So I already uploaded my Snow White head, so her silhouette. So I'm going to insert that into Design Space, and I'm going to make this a bit bigger so that you guys can see it. So as you can see through her hair bow, the collar, the little dots on her dress, and then her little edge piece here. Now, I've looked at Snow White, and her hairband and the little dots on her dress are red, so I want to do those in red vinyl, and then I'm going to leave the collar and this little shadowing piece completely see-through so that you'll see it through the glass. So what I need to do, and I found this way to do it, I actually did, what I did was I made a shape. I did a square, and I draw it around my piece so that it covers my whole project. And then I use the slice button, so I select both things by drawing that square around them both, and I select slice. And then what I do is I get rid of the parts I don't need. So I don't need the gray Snow White. I need to keep this, and I need to keep this. This square is what we're going to contour. So all you have to do is select your square, and down in the lower right-hand corner, click Contour. And what that's doing is it's going to bring up all of your pieces. And let me actually move this over so that we can see better. I'm going to switch these two around. I like to put it over here so that I can see what it's hiding and what it's not hiding a little bit easier. So all I have to do is tell it what parts I want it to cut and what parts I don't want to cut. So as it says on the image below, select outline portions to turn, cut off, and on. So I don't want it to cut this big square, so we're going to get rid of that first. And I don't want it to cut her giant head, so I'm going to click on that. I don't need it to cut her little shadow, and I don't need it to cut her collar. So I'm selecting those items for it not to cut. So it just basically hides them from the machine. The machine doesn't know they exist. So we're going to go ahead and close this out, and you'll see that we're left with her hairband and the 3 dots for her dress. I'm going to turn these red so that you guys can see them better, and I'm going to move them over so that we can just sort of place them on top of her, because that's what it's going to look like on the cup. Now, obviously, this is way too big for our wine glass, so we need to make it smaller. And what I'm going to do is select both pieces, and I know that I've got about 2 inches tall to work with and 2.5 inches wide. So I'm going to start with my tall, which would be the high, and just put 2 in. She looks really small on the screen, but she'll be a little bit bigger in person. I have this one zoomed out a bit so you guys can see it better, but I'll zoom it in a little bit. So she's going to be a little bit small, but that's okay. We can stretch her out probably a little bit more. I can remeasure my glass and just kind of get an idea. I could actually probably go a little bit larger on her height. So what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of going to take my size here and just click the up arrow a couple of times, just so she's a little under 2.5 inches. And that's the size that we want to make her. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Make It, and I want to show you what it's going to look like if or when you're ready. So it's going to cut out her black part, and then your second part will be your red. This project is perfect for little pieces of scrap vinyl. If you have small little bits that you aren't going to use a ton of, this is when those scrap pieces come in handy. So let me get my vinyl out and we will get ready to cut. And I'll show you guys how to load the mat really easily so you don't have to unload the mat between cuts. It's really super simple and a super fun way to do this. Alright, so I've loaded my mat and I want to show you guys how I did it. I put the black on one corner and the red on the other. So before you click make it, you want to come over to your screen, and hopefully you guys can see it because those red pieces are really small. You're just going to grab the red pieces and just move them over so that they'll cut in that other corner. You keep Snow White in this corner, and then the red pieces you can move to this corner. The nice thing is with this, we don't have to unload our mat a bunch to change our colors. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. We're going to hit, make sure we're on our black one to start. Hit continue. And I'm going to set you guys down right here so you guys can see. We're going to make sure that we have our dial set to vinyl. I just did some iron-on, so I had to set it to custom. So we're going to go ahead and load our mat. Always make sure it's under your tabs. Click load. And we're just going to click the go button, and it's going to cut Snow White first. Now, while you're waiting for this to cut, you should probably wipe your project down with some rubbing alcohol. What that's going to do is it cleans off any of your imperfections from your fingers touching it, any possible extra glitter that got on it, but it cleans off a lot of the oils. So you can see now that it's ready for our red. So all we have to do is click unload and then just reload your mat again. So just load it up, and then it's going to go ahead and easily, quickly cut your red pieces. So we'll go ahead and click go. I'm going to clean my wine glass while we're waiting. I like to rub the inside off a little bit too because it does tend to get a little bit dusty when you're working, or some of that glitter gets stuck in there. So just make sure you wipe your wine glass down really well with your alcohol. And we're going to let that dry for a second. And our Cricut is done, so we're going to pop this out. And we'll just pop our pictures off here. Now this corner is super sticky. Let me hang my mat up, and we will get these weeded really fast. These are simple weeding ones. You can probably do these without tools. All right, we are ready to apply our transfer tape. I use the dollar store contact paper. It's super easy. It works really, really well. So what I'm going to do for this one, because it's a layered look, I'm going to just make sure it fits, which it does. I'm just kind of getting an idea of where I need to fit those red dots. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my red pieces on, because these are going to be the top layer. And I'm going to actually layer my project on my transfer tape before I put it onto my glass. I find this to be a little bit easier, especially with these small intricate projects. It just makes it a little easier to see what you're doing. And that way if you mess up, you've messed up on your tape and not on your project itself. I usually will just pick one piece and kind of make sure that piece is lined up. And it may not be 100% perfect, and it wasn't. The only annoying thing when you get it slightly off is you have to carefully peel it off. Maybe we'll try her headband instead. So what I try to do is get it as even as I can. And sometimes what I'll end up doing is I'll take whatever piece I got evenly stuck down in the way I wanted it, and I'll leave that piece stuck. And then I'll move on to these smaller ones, because sometimes trying to do pieces that are so far apart makes it really, really hard. But you can easily do like these 3 dots kind of by themselves, and then you can put that hair bow on by itself as well. So now we have our beautiful Snow White, and we're going to rub her with our Cricut scraper. Guys, this is my favorite tool. I use it all the time. I use it for all sorts of things. It's great for cleaning your mat. It's great for, you know, getting all your vinyl designs. So here's our cup all ready for its decal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel my decal off, and I like to, with the glasses, I'll trim my decal pretty close to the edges with the transfer tape because it's going onto kind of a curved surface. Some people put slits in it. It kind of is whatever works best for you. I just prefer to trim very close to my decal. Make sure you don't trim your decal. Especially watch for like those really thin lines like her cape here. I'm not sure actually it's a collar or cape. I don't know. I haven't watched Snow White in 100 years. But you just want to trim her really, really close. Don't worry if your transfer tape's kind of sticking to yourself or the back of your project. It's fine. We'll put that to the side because we don't need it. And we don't need this. All we need is Snow White and our cup. So all I'm going to do, it's going to be a little bit awkward of an angle for you guys to see because I need to see where I'm putting her. But I'm just going to find kind of where I like her. And I put her a little bit down from the lip because I don't want her in the way if anyone drinks from this. Which they probably will because she's such a cute decal. And all I do, now you can see, is I press. And you can see she's got a little bit of a bubble going. So all I do is I just sort of work my way from the corners and the outsides here. And I just sort of work the center. And a lot of times the bubbles are actually going to end up in the transfer tape, it seems like, with these, and not so much on your decal. But the rounded edges, the more curved you go, the harder it is to get these on 100% straight, especially these hard, these you know, thick, I don't know what to call them, thick decals, I guess, where they have a lot of detail on them. So all I do now is I just kind of go over the decal best I can, kind of carefully, because you don't want to, you know, scrape anything up or rip it, but you just gently go over it with your scraper. And then all we're gonna do is gently, and you gotta do this really gently, is peel her off. Now she does have a pretty significant set of bubbles, which is okay because we'll fix those. If you notice, and I don't know how well you guys can see it, but she's got one here by her chin, which you can just press that one out. It's a lot easier once the transfer tape is off to press some of these bubbles out. So we're just going to press them out. And then she has one down here, right by her belly, I guess. I don't know, her bosom. And we're just going to press that right out. So we have this beautiful Snow White sparkle wine glass, and I will get you guys a good shot of this. And then, like I said, it's just a lot of fun. You can do all kinds of things with these glasses. And here is our finished Snow White wine glass. I hope you guys had a really fun time learning how to make this. You can be so creative with these and do all sorts of great gifts. These were wonderful for weddings. They're super easy to do. Again, all you need is polyacrylic. I'll have the link below from Amazon. It's the cheapest place I found it. Glitter. I use extra fine in any color you want. A cup, preferably glass. Any style. You'll need some vinyl. And a couple sponge applicators. And a reusable or a disposable bowl for your polyacrylic. This took a few days to complete, but mostly because we let the polyacrylic dry for so long. Otherwise, these projects are very quick and easy. It's just a matter of drying time. If you guys have any questions, please leave them below. I'm happy to answer anything you need to know. Make sure that you do subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos all the time. And if you have something you'd like to learn how to do, also let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit that bell button because that will alert you to any time I post a new video. I hope you guys have a great day.